Motorhead Garage, the program that each week introduces you to and shows you how to install the latest in exciting and innovative products for your vehicle. Now here's your host, Dave Dobson.
Motorhead Garage is presented by DragonFireTools.com. Now, if you're an avid viewer of Motorhead Garage, first of all, we thank you. And if you're an avid viewer of the show, you're probably familiar with Custom AUTOSOUND. Now, Custom AUTOSOUND is famous for making car stereos that look just like an original car stereo from a vintage car, but they give you all the features you want and need, like Bluetooth, satellite radio, and a way to play from an MP3 or a CD player, something like that. Not to mention great sound that's even better than the original stereo that came with your car. Now, we've installed, used, and loved Custom AUTOSOUND units for years here at Motorhead Garage, and lots of folks I run into ask me about Custom AUTOSOUND radios. Do they look as good in person as they do on TV? Are they easy to operate? Well, the answer to both of those questions is absolutely yes. And people ask me about the quality all the time, and we've always told you that Custom AUTOSOUND tests every unit before it leaves their facility. And recently, the crew and I took a trip to California so we could check out the entire process for ourselves. And we found a facility full of great people, and they were all very dedicated and genuinely proud to work there, I can tell you firsthand. Now, every Custom AUTOSOUND radio is assembled right there in California, and when we walked in, our first stop was the assembly department. Rows and rows of technicians putting radios together, inspecting every part, and testing the units to make sure they worked perfectly before they get to you. And we got to meet longtime employee Din Lee, and he was inspecting and putting together units for early Mustangs. The first step, putting nuts on the posts of the radio, then adjusting the unit to fit the dash. Din Lee runs those nuts down all the way, and then it's time for the dials. And the dials, in my opinion, are one of the touches that make Custom AUTOSOUND radios look great and period correct, which is so important in your classic car. Now, once the dials go on, Din Lee tests the unit for the first time. And once everything looks good with that initial test, the unit goes to Gloria over in quality control. And Gloria gives every single Custom AUTOSOUND unit a going over to make sure everything looks, sounds, and works as it should. And of course, every Custom AUTOSOUND model undergoes extreme temperature testing. We told you about that, both hot and cold temperatures, and the ever important vibration test. Super important in hot rods and street rods since they tend to make a lot of power, which means there's a whole lot of shaking going on inside that car. Now, once Gloria has inspected the unit for quality, she hands it over to Fong in packaging. She packs up every unit to make sure it stays in perfect working order when it arrives at your doorstep. Every unit from Custom AUTOSOUND is warehoused right there in their facility in California and shipped directly to you when you order at CustomAutosoundMFG.com. Custom AUTOSOUND makes radios that fit perfectly and look perfect in over 400 makes and models. They're also great for custom builds, by the way, if you're doing one of those. Of course, as I mentioned, Custom AUTOSOUND has radios that look period correct, or if you don't have any space on the dash or want a cleaner look, then they have radios that hide under the dash and still offer Bluetooth, MP3, and CD capabilities, satellite radio, and more. But Custom AUTOSOUND knows that great sounding audio doesn't stop with the radio unit itself. They also have great sounding speakers. Custom AUTOSOUND has subwoofers, kick panel, door mounted, and universal speakers too. They even have speakers that hide under a seat or somewhere under the dash. Just like their radio units, Custom AUTOSOUND speakers are made to look and sound great, and they are made to last. They're built in some of the same facilities that produce world-class audio components from famous brands you know, just like their radios. And if you're worried about installation, don't be. It's super simple. Custom AUTOSOUND makes it easy. They color code and label every single wire so you'll be able to connect the wiring harness with ease. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. Just take your time. Every unit comes with installation instructions, plus you can find helpful videos online to show you how it's done. And if you're having any issues, just call Custom AUTOSOUND's world-class technical support. They'll get you rocking and rolling in no time. Every radio from Custom AUTOSOUND comes with a 2-year warranty, and if you live in the lower 48, you get free shipping for every order over $100. And of course, you get that outstanding customer support, the kind that only Custom AUTOSOUND can give you. Custom AUTOSOUND has a stereo made to fit your specific make and model, and if you're building a street rod or even a rat rod, you'll find universal radios to suit your budget, your needs, and most important, your style. They've got all kinds of looks that'll be great in your car. Go to CustomAutosoundMFG.com to find the radio that's best for you and your vehicle. And we want to send out a special thanks to the whole group at Custom AUTOSOUND for being such great hosts and for giving us the backstage tour. Hey, we've got more great products for your vehicle coming up next on Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. We'll see you in a few. Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com, is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics, Shade Wagon, throw some shade, and by DragonFireTools.com, industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage. Spending some time out here in Phoenix, Arizona at Shock Therapy. Now, Justin, we've seen this incredible facility here. You guys will service anybody's shocks, any brand that comes in, you can service it and then rebuild it. But when it comes to stuff you sell and stuff you put on the vehicle, how much of that do you make here in-house?
You know, we make everything in-house. There's very little that we source out, maybe nuts and bolts, that's about it. But we're very particular about the components that we build. We're very particular about how they're built. The only thing we install here are products on every vehicle made, and we do service every single shock made.
And when it comes to parts, how many different part numbers do you manufacture?
Currently we have 450 SKUs. To be honest though, some of those are 4-seat spring kits versus 2. And so that actually brings it down to about 200.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah.
How important is it for you to make everything here, to make sure it's what you need?
You know, making everything is paramount because we originally started with other companies building things for us, and we really couldn't control the quality. And so we brought all the manufacturing in-house. We do all of the CNC work here. We do all the welding and fabrication and design work here in-house. It starts sometimes with a sketch on a notepad, and then from there goes into CAD drawings, engineered drawings, and then to CNC programming language, and then prototype components.
How do you decide a part needs to be made in the first place?
So the way that we approach our parts design and where we're going to go with it is basically the need in the vehicle as we see things starting to fail. As we make the vehicles ride better, sometimes people drive a lot faster, definitely a lot safer, but when you do that, you'll find the next weakest link in a UTV. So for instance, if we do a spring kit, internals, and you're able to go 50 miles an hour through the whoops instead of 40, you might find that the tie rods are now the weakest spot. We'll go ahead and make that. And once the tie rods are fixed, you might find the next weakest link could be a radius rod. We then go down the next part and the next part on the list until we get to the end and you've got a UTV that'll put up with the abuse.
Someone that may be new to the UTV world, out there banging around on the trails, like, oh, what's a couple thousand? So why is it going to make a difference that you guys pay so much attention to the tolerance and to the materials you guys use?
You know, high quality materials, the best heat treat, the best coatings, all add up to longevity. And longevity and components are very important to us as well. You can buy aftermarket parts that may only last for 1,000 miles and now it's worn out and you got to buy another one. What we try to do is design parts that are a lifetime component for the UTV. So you buy it once and you can forget it. You're going to be worrying about something else on the vehicle, not our parts.
But that is not a good business model if people only buy from you one time. So how do you make that work?
You know, you're right. Maybe we should have failure points, but
some people do.
They do, and we see it, but not with us. We really want to make sure that we build the best thing. We want to also make sure that no one else can improve on our part. It's designed in such a way that nobody can make it better than we did.
Quality is tantamount to shock therapy. What's one of the ways you can make sure folks are going to get a quality part when they get it in their mailbox?
From the beginning, high quality CNC machining. Number 2, checking the components after the fact. We've got a ton of scanning devices that'll verify all of our tolerances. After we send parts out for things like heat treat, anodizing, we always check all the heat treat ratings with a Rockwell tester. We spot check all the batches. And throughout the assembly process, we've got a whole list of things that must be checked and signed off by that assembly person and documented. It's also documented for history attached to the part number of that, for instance, rack and pinion. We know exactly who assembled it. We know exactly the tolerances that were in it for the rest of its life.
Like every good story, it starts at the beginning, and you've got to start with high quality materials. How do you ensure that?
So everything that we use and source material-wise is located and sourced inside the USA. We also make everything in the USA. So we're very, very proud of that. We're very, very stringent upon the materials that we get, and all of them have history certs, so we know what mill they came from and what batch they were in.
We'll be right back with more Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com, so don't go anywhere. Motorhead Garage presented by DragonFireTools.com, coming to you from the Shade Wagon studio.
Sitting at a stoplight, revving it up, pop the clutch and you're off. Wow, shifting through the gears and flying. Gotta love it. Nothing better than a manual transmission. But with it, well, comes a lot of movement. You can see everything down there from the flywheel going through all the gears to the output shaft. Welcome to this AMSOIL Tech Tip. It's all about the manual transmission. Where do we start? Well, right here at the input shaft. Now the input shaft comes in and then there's all your gears. The power's gonna go through the counter and then the synchronizer are gonna lock, and then what happens, it goes to the output shaft. I can show you all the different gears. Here's first gear right here. Now first gear, you're coming in through the input shaft, you're coming down to the counter shaft, that's always moving, and then depending on this synchronizer, you can see it's over here locking this gear to the shaft. That's first gear. Small gear driving a big gear. Torque multiplication, first gear. Now second gear, once again, the input's coming through, and then I go through almost 2 gears the same size, maybe that one's a little bit bigger, so I'm starting to lose torque and get some speed, but notice the synchronizer's locking that gear to the shaft. Second gear. Third gear, once again, power coming in through the actual input shaft, it's locked directly to the output shaft. There's direct drive, 1-to-1. You're coming in and going out. And reverse, we just throw another gear in the mix and the output shaft goes backwards. That's cool, but I have it for you right here on the table in action. Check this out. I just said it comes in through the input shaft. So the synchronizer's in the middle, nothing's going on. So what happens if I lock that gear in, now I'm coming in, down, up, and you can see the output shaft is now turning with the input shaft because it's locked with the synchronizer. Now there's a lot going inside these manual transmissions, and there's a lot of problems like leaks, gear problem, noisy teeth, and shift forks. Len, and there's a lot going on inside of there.
Yeah, and it all needs lubrication.
Especially these synchronizers. A lot of people don't know they have to bring these gears up to speed. So when I'm moving over, man, they're actually causing some friction in there.
Right, it acts kind of like a clutch, and there's some frictional characteristics. So when you're building a gear lube, you've got to really watch what you're doing because there's so many things going on. Just the chopping action of those gears meshing together will tend to chop the oil at a molecular level, and it tends to thin out, which can compromise protection. The synchronizers you mentioned, that acts like a clutch. We need to deal with the frictional characteristics. It can't be too slippery, it can't be too grippy, so you have a nice smooth shift. All of that can be affected by the oil. Heat is also a key factor here as well. So the oil needs to be extremely robust, additized properly to be able to protect that transmission and give you, flawless performance.
Now the synchronizers themselves, now they're brass, and there's some problems with the fluid as well if you don't have a good fluid.
At certain temperatures, gear lubes can develop an appetite for yellow metal, right? Unless you formulate for that, which we do. So heat doesn't necessarily become a problem with our transmission fluids.
And that's awesome. Just go to amsoil.com. If you have a vehicle with a manual transmission or an automatic transmission, it doesn't matter what you drive, they have a product for you.
My name is Bruce Roberts, and this is my 36 Ford. Well, you're looking at a 1936 Ford, two-door sedan, humpback. I've named it Humpy. It's flamed, it's chopped 4.5 inches, got a 350 Buick engine, 400 turbo, Chevrolet rear end. It's got air and heat, and I've drove it over 100,000 miles. It's been drove all over the United States. It's been in every lower state except 5. It was a basket case. It was a hull. That's about all it was, and I built it from the ground up. I had to do the frame, the body, complete rebuild, really, from the ground up. It took about 3 years to build it. It's a work in progress. It's one of those deals you never get done with these cars. You're working on them all the time. It's just a lot of fun. It's a hobby like anything else. It's like fishing, hunting. It's got to be in your blood, I think. You start out enjoying old cars, and it stays with you throughout your life, mostly. You either like them or you don't like them, and I don't have the answer for why I like them. I just like them. You get all kinds of reactions. Always giving you a thumbs up and telling you that the car's beautiful and we like it. Well, it makes you feel good, that you got something that someone enjoys besides you. They enjoy looking at it. We take them to nursing homes, and people there in the nursing homes get to come out and, I guess, reminisce about old times, and they enjoy looking at them. So it's just something that a lot of people enjoy.
Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. Industrial workbenches with integrated tool storage. And brought to you by PaintedAutoBodyParts.com, the leading U.S. auto body parts online store. Better Battery Bolt. You are nuts not to try these bolts. Point Blank Performance, specializing in diesel performance and machining. And by AJE Suspension, your source for the best aftermarket suspensions in the industry.
All right, I've got one for you. A nuclear scientist, a college instructor, and a defense contractor walk into a television studio. All right, it's not a joke, it actually just happened. This is Pasha Rudenko, and he is with Tribotex. It's something you're gonna love. Tell us what it is.
So Tribotex, it's a result of my PhD work at Washington State University that based on nanotechnology, and we call it dumbest possible artificial intelligence. Let me break it down for you. If you would say in the future had a nanobot and you would tell that nanobot to go swim in the engine and fix, let's say, play in the bearing, what the nanobot would do? It would grab a small amount of material, swim into the engine, attach it to a surface, swim back and repeat, right? We did exactly just that, but with as little of intelligence as possible. Let me explain how it is. So we made flat nanoparticles that have chemically and functionally different sides. One side is sticky and another is slippery. So when the nanoparticles attach to a surface, they only attach by sticky side and expose slippery side. So sticky side reinforce the surface and strengthen it, and slippery side protect it from the future damage. And interestingly enough, when many of those particles attach particle by particle, they go into attach in random pattern, forming porous structure. And that porous structure is thick enough to compensate for the wear that was accumulated for decades of the functioning of the mechanism. So we used that technology and simplified it for the everyday consumer to be used in engines, gearboxes, power steering pumps, rear differentials, front differentials, all kinds of the mechanisms that are lubricated by regular lubricants that over time wear out, that need some attention. That is what we brought.
Now, when you set out to do this, you weren't setting out to research engines and that sort of thing. How did you discover this technology?
We went into a completely different thing. We started from the hip implants, and then we learned that industrial applications would be really good, wind turbines, space applications. Essentially, NASA just recently put a wonderful article about us in the Spin-Off magazine. And we thought for the long time that this technology is going to be just too expensive for the regular consumer to really use it. You know, nanomaterial is expensive to make. You need substantial quantity to really show the difference. So we went and asked several government agencies, would you be interested in us bringing this technology to the market? And National Science Foundation funded us to build the production capacity. And after that, you know, we had a lot of material, but we didn't have customers. So we decided, how are we gonna bring it to the market? We put it on Kickstarter, then on Indiegogo, blow out our initial goals, and then Amazon, eBay. Now we bring it to retailers. So we just happy with the results.
All right, so the Air Force uses Tribotex, and big industry uses this. What can Tribotex do for me on my little car at home?
Every car over time wears out, and spherical bearings become elliptical at times. So you get little play and you hear it as an extra noise. So when this noise happens, the more particles can deliver it into that little gap, and they build a layer particle by particle, so your bearings effectively shrink. So you rebuild engine without disassembly, just with the syringe of Tribotex. That's one part of it. But that coating is not just thick and protective. It is also more lubricious than the material was before. So the bearing becomes more efficient. That reduces heat and reduces a little bit fuel consumption. Overall, those benefits are very useful for everyone who can keep their car longer and retain efficiency over long term.
How quickly am I going to notice the results once I put TriboTex
That's a
in?
very good question. The first difference in noise you will hear about 15 minutes in, and we want you to wait for those 15 minutes so the material get dispersed over time pretty well. But the real benefits happens when the cylinders and rings get coated, and this is just slow splash lubrication within the motor, so it takes longer. It takes about 10 motor hours, and we call it about 500 miles. So when those got coated, then you start realizing benefits of better fuel consumption and lower heat rejection into coolant. So the temperature of engine goes down again by a little bit.
If you want to see more, you can check them out on their website at tribotex.com. If you've spent any time around the car community, you know it's full of great people, and our PaintedAutoParts.com Motorheads of the Week prove that that is true. It's Chapter 15 of the Early Ford V8 Club of America, and every year the chapter puts on a car show for charity. And for the second year in a row, the show proceeds have gone to disabled American veterans. Our Motorhead Garage crew was invited to the show, and we saw dozens of great-looking cars and trucks. We love motorheads who make a difference, and the Early Ford V8 Club of America, Chapter 15, is doing just that. Thanks for your great work, and congratulations on being the PaintedAutoParts.com Motorhead of the Week. Head on over to MotorheadGarage.tv. Tell us who should be the next Motorhead of the Week. We'll see you next time on Motorhead Garage, presented by DragonFireTools.com. So long.